The oil dripped from Jack Jensen's calloused hands as he slid out from under his ancient Ford pickup. His 5-year-old daughter's laughter floating across the apartment complex parking lot. This wasn't how he'd planned to spend his only day off, but when your truck is 20 years old and payday is still a week away, you do what you have to do. "Daddy, can I hand you the wrench again?" Lily bounced on her toes, her blonde pigtails swinging with excitement. "Not right now, sweetheart. Daddy needs to tighten this oil filter by hand." Jack wiped his brow, leaving a streak of grease above his eyebrows. "But you're the best assistant a mechanic could ask for." Lily beamed, clutching her stuffed rabbit closer to her chest. "Is our truck going to be okay?" "She'll be running better than ever once we're done." Jack smiled, though the truth was more complicated. The transmission was making noises it shouldn't, and the tires were balder than his Uncle Pete, but one problem at a time was all he could manage these days. He heard the sound of tires on gravel, and glanced up to see a gleaming white Audi SUV pull into the parking space a few spots over. The vehicle looked wildly out of place in the modest apartment complex where Jack and Lily had moved after the divorce. A woman stepped out, dressed in what even Jack could recognize as expensive clothes, a simple cream blouse and tailored pants that probably cost more than his monthly rent. She was probably in her early 30s, with chestnut hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail and stylish sunglasses perched on her nose. "Come on, Lily," Jack said quietly. "Let's finish up and get inside for lunch." But Lily, never one to miss an opportunity for conversation, waved enthusiastically at the newcomer. "Hi, lady, my daddy is fixing our truck," Jack cringed. The last thing he needed was to look like the struggling single father he was in front of someone who clearly had walked into the wrong neighborhood. But to his surprise, the woman smiled warmly at his daughter. "Is that so?" she replied, her voice gentle. "That's very impressive." "He can fix anything," Lily declared proudly. The woman approached them, her heels clicking on the pavement. As she got closer, Jack noticed how tired she looked beneath her polished exterior. "I don't suppose you know anything about changing oil?" she asked, gesturing to her SUV. "My car's light came on and I was planning to take it to the dealership, but they can't get me in until next week." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's a pretty new car. Changing the oil yourself will void the warranty." "It's actually just out of warranty," she said with a sigh. "And the service light won't stop blinking at me. It's driving me crazy." Jack stood up, wiping his hands on a rag. "Well, I could take a look if you want. It's not complicated, just messy." "I'd be happy to pay you," she offered immediately. The offer of money was tempting. Jack's hours at the construction site had been cut back recently, and every dollar counted. But there was something about the genuine tiredness in her eyes that made him shake his head. "No need. I'm already covered in oil anyway." He gestured to his stained t-shirt. "I'm Jack, by the way. Jack Jensen, and this is my daughter, Lily." "I'm 5, Lily announced, holding up her hand to demonstrate. The woman smiled and knelt down to Lily's level. "It's very nice to meet you, Lily. I'm Morgan Sinclair." Morgan turned to Jack. "Are you sure? I really don't want to impose." "It's no problem. Let me just finish up my truck first, then I'll show you how to do yours. That way, next time you can do it yourself." Jack wasn't sure why he'd offered that, but something told him this woman wasn't looking for someone to do things for her, she wanted to learn. 40 minutes later, Jack had finished with his truck and was explaining the basics of oil changes to Morgan, who listened with intense focus. Lily sat on a nearby curb, coloring in her book and occasionally offering commentary. "So you just unscrew this plug here?" Morgan asked, pointing to the oil pan. "That's right, but make sure the engine is cool first. Hot oil can cause serious burns." Jack positioned the oil pan beneath her car. "You want to try it yourself?" Morgan hesitated. "I'm wearing the completely wrong clothes for this." Jack laughed. "Yeah, I wouldn't recommend designer clothes for auto work. Maybe next time." "Well, I've already committed," she said, rolling up her sleeves. "Show me what to do." Jack guided her through the process, impressed by how quickly she caught on. Her questions were thoughtful, and she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, literally. By the time they were finishing up, her manicured hands were streaked with oil, and there was a smudge on her cheek that she didn't seem to notice. "So that's it?" she asked, sounding surprised. "Just drain the old," replace the filter, and add new oil. The dealership charges me $120 for this. Welcome to the wonderful world of automotive maintenance markups, Jack said with a grin. Next time you can save yourself some money. I don't know if I'd have the confidence to do this without someone watching over me, Morgan admitted, trying to wipe her hands on the rag Jack offered. Daddy can help you again, Lily piped up from her spot. Right, Daddy, Jack felt his face flush. I'm sure, miss. Sinclair has people she can call for that, Lily. Morgan looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Actually, I don't. My ex-husband used to handle all of this, and since the divorce. She trailed off, then smiled brightly. Anyway, thank you so much for your help. Can I at least buy you and Lily lunch as a thank you? Jack's pride wanted to refuse, but his empty refrigerator made that impossible. That would be nice, actually. There's a great diner just down the road, Morgan suggested. We could all clean up and meet there in half an hour. Jack agreed, and soon they found themselves settled in a booth at Ray's Diner, where Lily was happily coloring the kids' menu while Jack and Morgan made small talk. So what brings you to Oakwood Apartments? Jack asked. It's not exactly the kind of place someone who drives an Audi would live, Morgan finished with a smile. I'm actually looking at property in the area. My company is considering developing some land nearby, and I wanted to get a feel for the neighborhood. Your company? Jack asked. Yes, I work for Sinclair Development. We build residential and commercial properties throughout the state. Her tone was casual, but Jack sensed there was more to it. Sinclair. So you're what, the boss's daughter? Jack guessed. Morgan laughed. Something like that. It's a family business. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of their food cheeseburgers for Jack and Morgan and chicken tenders for Lily. As they ate, Jack found himself surprisingly comfortable talking with Morgan. She asked about his construction work, and he told her about the challenges of balancing his job with raising Lily after his ex-wife moved across the country for a new job 2 years ago. She calls once a week, sends birthday presents, Jack explained, keeping his voice low so Lily wouldn't overhear. But it's been just me and Lily day to day since she was 3. That must be incredibly difficult, Morgan said, her eyes full of genuine concern. We manage, Jack said simply. What about you? Any kids? Morgan shook her head. No, my ex and I talked about it, but we were both so focused on our careers. Then one day I came home to find him with his assistant, and that was that. 3 years of marriage down the drain. I'm sorry, Jack said sincerely. Don't be. It was for the best. Though I will say, taking care of a car seems simpler than taking care of a marriage, Jack laughed. I don't know about that. At least with a marriage, you don't have to crawl underneath it to figure out what's leaking. Morgan burst out laughing, a genuine sound that made several diners turn their heads. Lily looked up from her coloring and grinned, though she clearly didn't understand the joke. I like your laugh, Lily announced. It's pretty like Belle's. Morgan's expression softened. That's the nicest compliment I've received in ages. Thank you, Lily. As they finished their meal, Morgan insisted on paying, waving away Jack's protests. She handed him her business card as they walked to their vehicles. If you ever need anything, please call, she said. And thank you again for today. You have no idea how refreshing it is to meet someone who doesn't want something from me. Jack looked at the card and felt his stomach drop. The card read, Morgan Sinclair, CEO, Sinclair Development Group. Not just a family member in the business, she ran the whole company. You're the CEO, he said, feeling suddenly foolish. I just showed the CEO of a development company how to change oil in a parking lot. Morgan's smile faded slightly. Is that a problem? No, I wouldn't have. Jack stumbled over his words. You wouldn't have helped me if you'd known, she challenged gently. Jack considered this. I probably would have been more nervous, but yeah, I still would have helped, Morgan's smile returned. That's what I thought. Most people treat me differently when they know who I am. It was nice to just be a woman with a car problem for an afternoon. They said their goodbyes, and Jack watched as Morgan's Audi disappeared down the road. He looked at the business card in his hand, then tucked it into his wallet, assuming he'd never hear from her again. He was wrong. 3 days later, as Jack was dropping Lily off at kindergarten, his phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Jack, it's Morgan Sinclair. I'm sorry to bother you, but my car is making this strange noise, and I remembered how good you were with vehicles. I don't suppose you'd be willing to take a look. I'd be happy to pay you for your time." Jack was stunned. Sure, when were you thinking? Is tonight possible?" "I could come by after work, maybe around 6. That evening, Jack found himself once again bent over an engine, this time showing Morgan how to check belts and hoses. The noise turned out to be a loose heat shield, an easy fix that took all of 10 minutes. "I feel silly calling you out for something so minor," Morgan admitted as they stood in the parking lot. "Better safe than sorry with cars," Jack replied. "Ignore a small problem and it can turn into a big one real quick." Morgan nodded. "That's true for most things in life, isn't it?" Their eyes met, and Jack felt an unexpected flutter in his chest. Morgan was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. There was something about her direct gaze that made him feel seen in a way he hadn't experienced in years. "Daddy, can Morgan stay for spaghetti?" Lily called from the apartment doorway where she'd been watching them. "I helped make the sauce." Jack started to decline, certain that a CEO had better things to do than eat spaghetti in a small apartment, but Morgan was already smiling. "I'd love that, Lily, if your dad says it's okay." Jack found himself nodding. "We have plenty, it's nothing fancy though." "Fancy is overrated," Morgan replied. "Trust me, I know." Over dinner, Lily chattered about her day at school while Jack and Morgan exchanged amused glances. After Lily went to bed, they sat on Jack's small balcony with cups of coffee. "You have a wonderful daughter," Morgan said, looking out at the quiet parking lot. "You've done an amazing job with her." "Thanks," Jack said, feeling the pride that always came with compliments about Lily. "She makes it easy most days, though I wish I could give her more." Morgan turned to him. "More what?" "More everything. A bigger place, better schools, dance lessons she keeps asking for." Jack sighed. "The construction industry is tough right now. Projects get delayed, hours get cut." "What would you do if you could do anything?" Morgan asked. "Career-wise, I mean." Jack hadn't thought about that in years. "I always wanted to start my own contracting business. I'm good with my hands, I understand construction inside and out, but starting a business takes capital I don't have." Morgan was quiet for a moment. "You know, my company often works with independent contractors. We're actually looking for someone to oversee some smaller renovation projects right now." Jack stiffened. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Morgan said firmly. "It's business. You have skills we need and we pay well for quality work. Just think about it." Before Jack could respond, Morgan's phone chimed. She checked it and grimaced. "I've got an early meeting tomorrow, I should go." At the door, she paused. "Thank you for dinner. It's been a long time since I had a meal that didn't involve business talk or restaurant reservations." "Anytime," Jack said, surprised to realize he meant it. Over the next few weeks, Morgan's car seemed to develop a series of minor issues that required Jack's attention. After the third such emergency, they both stopped pretending these visits were about car maintenance. Morgan started bringing dinner, or they would take Lily to the park together, watching her play while they talked about everything and nothing. Jack learned that Morgan had inherited the company when her father died unexpectedly 3 years ago. She'd been groomed to take over eventually, but hadn't expected to be in charge so soon. She worked 14-hour days, lived alone in a penthouse apartment she rarely saw in daylight, and couldn't remember the last time she'd taken a vacation. Morgan learned about Jack's upbringing in foster care after his parents died in a car accident when he was 12. His determination to give Lily the stable childhood he never had, and his talent for fixing things that went far beyond cars and trucks. One Saturday afternoon, as they watched Lily feeding ducks at the local pond, Morgan broached the subject of work again. "I have a proposition for you," she said carefully, "and I want you to hear me out before you say no." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's not ominous at all," Morgan laughed. "It's not bad, I promise. My company just purchased a series of properties near here that need renovation. Small buildings, a couple of duplexes, a small office building. We need someone to oversee the work, someone who understands construction and can manage the day-to-day operations." Jack frowned. "Morgan, the salary is competitive," she continued quickly. "Full benefits, including health insurance, regular hours, which means more time with Lily, and the potential to grow if you're interested." You're offering me a job. I'm offering you an opportunity, Morgan corrected. One I'd offer to anyone with your skills. The fact that I enjoy your company is entirely separate. Jack was quiet, watching Lily laugh as the ducks quacked around her. Can I think about it? Of course, Morgan said, relief evident in her voice. Take all the time you need. That night, after tucking Lily in, Jack sat at his kitchen table with a legal pad, writing out pros and cons. The salary Morgan had mentioned was nearly double what he was making now. The benefits would mean better health care for Lily. The regular hours would mean no more scrambling for childcare when he got called in for overtime or sent home early without pay. But there was the complication of his growing feelings for Morgan. What if things didn't work out between them? Would he lose his job? What if people thought he only got the position because of their relationship? The next morning, Jack called Morgan. I'll take the job, he said, but I have conditions. I'm listening, she replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. First, I report to someone else in the company, not directly to you. Second, no special treatment. I sink or swim based on my work. And third, we keep our personal relationship separate from work. Those are reasonable terms, Morgan agreed. But that means we're acknowledging we have a personal relationship. Jack took a deep breath. I think we do, unless I've been completely misreading things. You haven't, Morgan said softly. Not at all. 2 weeks later, Jack started his new position at Sinclair Development Group. The work was challenging but satisfying, and his supervisor, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, made it clear that his relationship with Morgan had nothing to do with her expectations of his performance. Morgan and Jack began dating officially, though they kept things progressing slowly, mindful of Lily. They had dinner together several times a week, sometimes with Lily, sometimes alone after she was in bed with a trusted babysitter watching over her. They went to movies, took walks, and gradually, carefully, fell in love. 4 months after Jack started his new job, he invited Morgan to Lily's 6th birthday party. It was a simple affair at the local park, with a few of Lily's friends from school and their parents. Are you sure you want me there? Morgan asked when he extended the invitation. It's a family thing. That's why I want you there, Jack said simply. The day of the party, Morgan arrived early to help set up, wearing jeans and a T-shirt, a far cry from her usual business attire. She brought a beautifully wrapped gift for Lily and a nervous smile for Jack. I've never been to a kid's birthday party before, she admitted as they hung streamers. What if the other parents don't like me? Jack grinned. They probably won't even know who you are, and if they do, so what? Today you're just Morgan, the woman who makes amazing chocolate chip cookies and knows all the words to let it go. Morgan laughed. I still can't believe you caught me singing that in the shower. The party was a success, with Lily declaring it the best birthday ever as she blew out her candles. Jack noticed how naturally Morgan fit in, chatting with the other parents, helping serve cake, and making sure every child got an equal turn at the piñata. Later, as they cleaned up after the party, Lily fell asleep on a park bench, exhausted from the excitement. Jack and Morgan sat beside her, watching the sunset. Thank you for today, Morgan said, leaning her head against his shoulder. I can't remember when I last enjoyed myself so much. Jack took her hand in his. I've been thinking. Our apartment lease is up next month, and I was wondering if maybe we should look for a bigger place, something with a yard for Lily, maybe closer to her school. Morgan sat up, looking at him with surprise. Are you thinking of moving? I'm thinking maybe we could find a place together, Jack said, his heart racing. The three of us. Morgan's eyes widened. Jack, are you sure? That's a big step, I know, and if it's too soon, I understand, but I love you, Morgan. I think I have since you showed up in that parking lot pretending you didn't know how to change your oil. Morgan's face flushed. What do you mean, pretending? Jack grinned. Your questions were too specific. You already knew the basics, didn't you? Morgan laughed softly. I might have watched a YouTube video or two before I came over, but I really did need help. Maybe I could have gone to a mechanic instead. Why didn't you? Morgan's expression grew serious. Because I saw you with Lily earlier that day when I was driving by. You were so patient with her, letting her help you even though it probably made everything take twice as long. You looked like a man who knew what really mattered in life. She squeezed his hand, and I was right. Jack leaned in and kissed her softly. "So what do you think about the three of us finding a place together?" Morgan smiled against his lips. "I think it sounds perfect, and for the record, I love you too." Lily stirred in her sleep, mumbling something about birthday cake. Jack and Morgan exchanged a smile, both knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. 6 months later, they moved into a modest but comfortable house halfway between Lily's school and the Sinclair development offices. Jack's contracting division was thriving, having successfully completed the renovation projects on time and under budget. He was now overseeing a team of his own, with plans to expand into sustainable building practices, an idea Morgan had enthusiastically supported both professionally and personally. Morgan had cut back her hours at work, delegating more responsibilities and finding a balance that had previously seemed impossible. She coached Lily's soccer team on weekends and had become an expert at braiding hair and making school lunches, skills she tackled with the same determination she brought to boardroom negotiations. On a crisp autumn evening, as Lily played in the backyard of their new home, Jack found Morgan in the garage, changing the oil in her Audi by herself. "Look at you, being all self-sufficient," he teased, leaning against the doorframe. Morgan grinned up at him, a streak of oil on her cheek just like the first day they'd met. "I had a good teacher. Need any help?" he offered. Morgan shook her head. "I've got it, but I wouldn't mind the company." Jack sat on a nearby stool, watching as she confidently replaced the oil filter. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad your car had that oil light come on that day." "Me too," Morgan said softly. "Best warning light of my life." Later that night, after Lily was asleep, they sat on the porch swing, Morgan tucked against Jack's side. "I've been thinking about the future," Morgan said, tracing patterns on his palm. "Oh yeah, what about it?" Jack asked, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "About us, about Lily, about maybe giving her a little brother or sister someday." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "Really, you'd want that?" Morgan nodded, looking up at him. "I never thought I would, but loving you and Lily has changed everything for me. I want it all now, the messy, complicated, beautiful life we're building." Jack pulled her closer. "I want that too, all of it with you." "Who would have thought," Morgan mused, "that all it would take was a simple oil change to completely change our lives?" Jack laughed. "There was nothing simple about it. You're the CEO of a development company who pretended to need help with basic car maintenance. And you're the struggling single dad who saw someone who needed help and didn't hesitate, even covered in grease and on your only day off." Morgan's voice grew serious. "Do you know how rare that is? To find someone who helps just because they can, not because of what they might get in return." Jack shrugged. "It's how my foster dad was. He always said the measure of a person isn't what they do when everyone's watching, but what they do when no one is." "He was a wise man," Morgan said. "He would have liked you," Jack told her. "Almost as much as I do." As the stars appeared overhead, Jack and Morgan stayed wrapped in each other's arms, planning their future. A future neither could have imagined that day in a modest apartment complex parking lot, when a struggling dad showed a woman how to change oil, not knowing she was a CEO loving his patients and eventually loving him.